Well, greetings, YouTube. LMS Tactical here. I hope everybody's doing good and well. So what could be funner and more entertaining than watching videos of cops arresting cops? I mean, man, it just doesn't get any better than that. And, I get the attraction. So look, for those that are new to the channel, I'm retired LAPD. And I'm back from the old days, man. I mean, I retired in 96. So, things were obviously different back then. And I'm going to get into a little bit of that in a second here. But just to give you some background as to why I'm talking about this, I go through phases on YouTube where I'll get into World War II documentaries. Lately, I've been watching people that are on airplanes and the pilot drops dead of a heart attack and somebody's got to be talked, into how to land the plane. You'd be surprised how often that happens. But I've spent, the past 3 weeks just, watching all these videos because there's so much body camera footage and, now that they have that technology of police officers and agencies all over the country that are running into other cops from either their agency or neighboring agencies who are, in most cases, driving while under the influence. And, it's captivating. You got the dash cam videos. They got cameras that show the back seat when they put the suspect back there and blah, blah, blah. But what struck me, a lot of things struck me interesting. But what prompted me to do the video today is, I'm a guy that when I watch videos, I read comments and I make comments. And there is a real theme that was somewhat expected in terms of, you got, anytime you're talking about cops, you'll see them on this video too, I'm sure. There are just people that absolutely have bought into the mass hysteria and they just hate cops because it's the in thing to do. Cops are racist and cops are this and that and everything else. And they're usually younger people that aren't putting a lot of thought into it. Once they own things like houses and cars and nice things and they've been victimized, they'll realize that you can't run a safe society without some kind of law enforcement going on. Doesn't mean that cops are all perfect. My normal disclaimers, cops are a reflection of society. If you got assholes in society, well, that's where we pull our cops from. Just like that's where we pull our butchers and bakers and doctors and undertakers from. So you're going to have assholes in all of those careers. So, but it's always hey, look, you guys think you're so powerful and so above the law and so bad. Look at you. One of yours is a drunk driver or one of yours did this. Hey, they're not robots yet. They're humans. And so you're going to get some bad ones. But when you read when I read the comments, there's always like little groups. There's the groups that are like, oh, I just love watching a pig get what he dishes out. But some of the comments are rude and kind of screwed up, but I think these people really believe what they're saying. So I'm hoping I get some anti-cop people that will listen to this and maybe rethink things or look into it, or at least give them a different way to look at things. And that whole line of commenting has to do with, oh man, if these guys weren't on camera, man, they'd let these guys go. They'd take them home, or they would not arrest them. Or look how nice they treat this cop. Now, if that was you or me, we'd be getting our heads split open and getting beat up and blah, 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 and be, getting called names. And so there's a lot of people that I have to believe actually believe that shit. And I'm here to set the record straight. And those that have been with me for a while know I speak from the heart. If there's bad things to say and they don't shine favorably on law enforcement, I'm going to say them, because there's no motivation for me at all to bullshit anybody. So I get brutally honest, and I get a lot of heat from cops sometimes because I just fucking tell it the way it is, And in this case, let's look at some facts here. And I know facts are a bitch in today's world where feelings dominate facts. But in real world situations, in real life, facts matter. Even when they don't push a certain agenda. So put all your feelings aside for a second and assume that I'm telling you the truth, because I am. Now, back in the 80s and 90s when I was a cop, you're absolutely right. We did let a lot of cops off the hook, so to speak. If they were, close by their home or whatever, you know, we'd lock up the car and take them home or have somebody come and pick them up. We also were notorious, and I'm speaking just for my agency, I got to assume it was going on all over the country. We also were notorious for doing that for firefighters, doctors, nurses, you know, people that we may be laying on the gurney there with a sucking chest wound. And, you know, we looked at ourselves as kind of a group of first responders. But here's the kicker. This is the part that drove me nuts when I was reading these comments. Oh man, if that was a civilian, man, oh man, and they didn't have cameras, see, they're forced to do it. Yeah, we did take a lot of people home and not book them. But when I say people, we also took a shitload of citizens home of all races. Now, I worked in Watts for the, you know, predominantly for most of my career, and the South Central LA, which meant that I was dealing with almost entirely African Americans in those days. So when I gave somebody a break, whether it was didn't give them a ticket or had their brother come and pick them up or locked their keys up and took them home, they were 100%. It was 100% of the time. It was black people. There were no white people living in there in the projects in those days or in the surrounding area. So you expect us to believe that you back then in those days actually would take Mr. or Mrs. Smith home? Yeah, absolutely. And in this regard, I think, well, strike that. Attitude goes a long way with law enforcement. And of course, I'm speaking from my day. I think attitude goes a long way in any interaction. You know, if you're working at a 7-Eleven and some guy comes up and goes, "Where's your fucking coffee?" Okay, well, the exchange is not going to be a good one probably, or it's not going to be comfortable at least. You know, or, you know, "Hey, I dropped my fucking coffee, man. Can I get a refill for free?" I mean, what's the incentive to give that guy a free refill because he dropped his coffee? Where's the incentive for there? But, you know, if a guy acts like a human being, he's like, "Oh, shit, I walked out and dropped my coffee." 99.9% of the people go, "Oh, go get another one, man." You see, I hope you understand what I'm saying. And with police work back in those days, and I got to believe it, you know, in as much as it's possible, it mattered. You know, I always am saying, man, don't have a trial at the scene of the arrest or the scene of the citation, man. You know, if you disagree with shit, there's a way to address it later, so that it doesn't escalate into an arrest, a car being towed, or God forbid, you know, a shooting. You know, towing cars, there's another one. You know, we weren't mandated to tow people's cars. And when you arrest somebody and you tow their car, that's just another fucking headache. Because if they don't have anyone to go get it out and pay all the towing fees and all the other shit, now it's sitting there and you got to pay impound fees. And if you're in jail long enough, that could end up being worth more than the car. Back in those days, everybody didn't drive nice cars, you know. So I can't tell you how many times we had to arrest somebody, but because they were being cooperative, we would go out of our way to safely park their vehicle and lock it up, secure it, and not tow their car. It was our discretion. Why would we, you know, why would we want to push that kind of shit on somebody who has merely made a mistake? And, you know, it's our job to point those mistakes out and to take legal action when it's required. In areas where we had discretion, we used discretion. Now, do I think it was right to let people off the hook that had been drunk driving or driving under the influence? You know, no, technically it wasn't right. It wasn't the right thing to do. As a matter of interacting with society and, you know, human to human, brother to brother, brother to sister, you know, I don't have any regrets about doing that. And I'm going to tell you a quick story about what happened at a future thing. But first, before I get to that, the other one is, oh man, if there were no cameras, you know, they would be hitting on this guy or they'd be doing that. And, you know, that is in many cases true. It's not every cop is not the same. But like I was watching a video yesterday where one old timer cop, I mean like a year away from retirement, was getting arrested, drunker than fuck. And he's trying to tell the guy, "Come on, man, you know, you have to jam me up. You know, you can let me out and you can, and the young guy's like, "Hey man, no, it's not happening. It can't happen. Don't ask me to do that." And he's like, "Hey," the cop said a great line. He goes, "Hey, this ain't 1999, the arresting officer." And he's like, "You know, I know in the old days you used to let people go." And one of them said, "Yeah, and we used to be able to slap somebody if they were talking shit." That's true. Was that right? No, the older I get, the more I realize that wasn't right. But on the other side of the coin, we had a different relationship Sorry about that. I thought I put this in airplane mode. We had a different relationship between the police and citizens, you know. I don't think there's ever been a time where people love cops, but they weren't like, it wasn't the way it is now. You know, and I could go into that whole fucking thing about, well, you know, that's abuse and everything else. You know what? I have always been and will continue to be a proponent of the body camera. I think that's a great thing. I said it in my last video. It doesn't solve and answer everything, every question, but it gives you a real good view and taste of what was going on. So, and it keeps, maybe if there's an aggressive cop that would be heavy-handed in my day, if he had a camera on, you're right, he wouldn't be so heavy-handed. So that alone, it protects the cop, but protects the citizens and the arrestees as well. So I'm 100% for it. But getting back to the letting people go. Okay, those that know me personally know I don't drink alcohol. Every New Year's Eve, I have a glass of champagne with my wife. I was never a alcoholic that went through a program and stopped drinking. I'm going to tell you what caused me to stop drinking. And it was one of those, holy shit, man. You don't get chances like this. Here's what happened. In those days, now I was working Hollywood division. In those days, I worked at night, and then after work, we'd go out and we'd drink, and Jack Daniels was my drink of choice. Now you got to remember, this doesn't excuse anything. I'm just explaining to you the mindset. Remember, you know, you can't hold people today responsible for things that were acceptable, 15, 20, 100 years ago. It's like slavery, I mean, it's like, hey, this is different. Things change. Societies progress. So cops today shouldn't be held responsible for what we were doing, and we shouldn't be held by today's standards back then. You understand? I mean, in most cases. So I was trained by Vietnam veterans for the most part, and hardcore guys that were, cops in the 70s and the 60s. And these guys, it was a different world. And these guys were notorious for on the way home, they'd be drinking a beer. They'd call it a short dog. And, I guess the law didn't apply to them. As an older guy now, matured. I mean, I was 21 when I came on. I realized how fucking hypocritical that is and was. And that shit's not tolerated anymore. But that was tolerated back then. That was the way it was. Just whether we like it or not, that's the way it was. So we would go out drinking, and I was doing my thing with a bunch of cops, drinking, throwing back the Jack and Cokes, and I was fucked up beyond all recognition. I'm not even going to describe it. I was a drunk that was able to drive. Yeah. So it must have been about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and anybody that's out in Southern California will know this route. I'm coming out of Hollywood, and I'm heading to Rancho Cucamonga. It's like 72 miles. But on the 10 freeway, man, which is a straight shot east, at that time, there was no cars, not one. Imagine having this huge fucking freeway, and there's not one car on the freeway, and I'm in a Buick Skylark. We called it the Blue Flame, and I was pedal to the metal, man. And, I was pushing, up into the 100, man, up into the 100 zone, past 100 at some points. And I'm ripping along, and I got the music, but I got an Easy-E pumping on my freaking stereo, and just trying to get home, man. And, we didn't have cell phones, so I'd called my wife at the time, said, hey, I'm leaving the bar, so she would know when to expect me. And I always did that, so she'd know I wasn't fucking around on her, and plus that she would know that, where I'm at. Hey, I'm at the bar. I'll call you when I'm leaving. Hey, I'm leaving the bar. Say hi, everybody. Hi. And then I'd leave. Well, she's expecting me home in like an hour or so, and I'm hauling ass. And at some point, man, I pass what they call them state troopers out in a lot of the country, but back in California, they're highway patrol. And I pass this black and white. I'm in the fast lane. He's in the number 2 lane. Phew! And I thought I saw California Highway Patrol on the side of the car. And I was like, fuck, I went so fast, it like literally reversed the emblem on his car. I couldn't believe it. It was like, fuck, the only other car, man. And I'm hauling ass. So I look up in my mirror, and way the fuck back there, I see these little red and blues come on. And I'm trying to shut it down. It's like landing the space shuttle. I was going so fast. So I slow it down, and I had come down the hill, and I'm in the Pomona area. And, I pull off the off ramp, and he's actually comes up behind me on the PA. Hey, exit the off ramp. I exit the off ramp, and I'm sitting there. And this is exactly what happened. I remember it like it was yesterday. I'm sitting in my car like I am now. He comes walking up, and there's 2 of them, which was unusual because the chippies in those days used to ride solo, 1-man units. And there's a younger guy, and he comes up, and I identified myself because I got a weapon and the whole bit. And he goes, he says, hey, how fast do you think you were going? And I said, as fast as this car goes. You know, I have no idea. But, and then he says, I identified myself. He takes my information back and all this shit. And I'm thinking, I'm fucked, man. End of my career. And he comes up, and this was the first time I'd ever seen a portable breathalyzer. They had them. We didn't. I didn't even know they existed. You know, in our LAPD, we had to take you back to the station and have you blow. Well, he comes up with a handheld one, and I'm like, oh, here it comes. He has me blowing it, and I think I was like a 2.8 or, yeah, it's close to 30, and 0.8 is the limit, legal limit. And, you know, he goes back and talks to his partner, and then he comes up and he says, hey, man, he goes, what do you think's going to happen when I get my supervisor out here? And this is exactly what I said. I said, hey, brother, I know exactly what's going to happen, but this is my responsibility. Don't please, you know, just do what you got to do. I fucked up. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm going to lose everything, man. I'm going to lose my house, a whole bit, my career. And, you know, I could see he was struggling. I said, dude, really, just do what you got to do. I mean, this is on me. It's not on you. And he goes, you know, you're putting me in a really fucked up position. He says, because I've got a probationer with me. He was training a guy. And, you know, this is back in the days when you would normally let another cop go. And I said, man, don't get yourself in any trouble, man. You know, just call the supervisor if that's what you need to do. And he sits there and he goes, fuck. He goes, you know what, man? I want you to continue down this off ramp to make a right, pull over right under that street light there and sleep, you know, sleep this shit off. I'm going to come back every hour and check, and you better fucking be there because I have all your information. And, of course, in reality, you know, looking back on it, if I would have left, what's he going to do? Go say, hey, I let a drunk guy go? No, I would have been gone. But I knew that I had fucked up. So I pulled over there and locked my doors and went to sleep. And it's not the best area over there. I wake up, man, and it's like, I don't know, 11 or 12 noon, and the sun is burning, and I'm sweating and fucked up, you know, hungover, sober. But because I had woke up a couple times in the night, but I'm like, I ain't leaving, man. No way, doing what I was told. Well, I get home, man. Of course, my ex-wife thinks I'm dead, and nowadays she probably wishes I was. But back then, you know, it was like kind of hysterical. Where you been? Oh, my God, man, I got pulled over and blah, blah, blah. Okay, here's the deal. I stopped drinking right away, right when that happened. I just said, you know, I said to myself, it was like a come to Jesus moment. I thought, you know, man, how many chances does a man get or a human get? You know, I'll never get that chance again. And I could have lost everything for what? For some fucking shit that tastes terrible anyway and always ends in bad news. And then I started really analyzing it. And I thought I never woke up once and said, man, my life is so much better and it's improved because I drink. But I couldn't count how many times I woke up and went, man, what the fuck was I saying to those people last night, you know, at the party, or what did I do yesterday, all the way back to my Army days. And I just realized, you know what, man, fuck that. I don't need this shit in my life. And you know what? I don't miss it at all. It's just good to be in control. But here's a guy, I wish I knew his name because he saved my career. He probably saved my life. He probably saved someone else's life because who knows if I would have kept drinking like that and driving. What if I killed somebody? What if I killed a family or a father or a mother or a sister or brother? I mean, this is what happens, you know? And I remember thinking, man, what a fucking hypocrite you are, Mike. You go out and you arrest people for drunk driving, and here you are fucking driving drunk. I mean, it was almost like, well, no shit, dummy. Why didn't you think of that? Oddly enough, I had not thought of it because it was the culture that we were trained in. Yeah. So that's just, you know, it's, again, I'm not making excuses. I'm giving you explanations and descriptions on the way things were and the difference. So I'll end it with this, man. You know, body cameras are a good thing. And for you officers out there, for the life of me, I don't know what the fuck people are thinking. I mean, you know you got body cameras on. And you know if you get stopped by another cop. And it's amazing how belligerent some of these cops are. That it just makes me want to slap the fuck out of them. It's like, you know, to even ask a cop to do that, because the rules and everything's changed now. You cannot do it. It's just not done anymore. We wave goodbye to those days and to revolvers like I carried. Those are gone. It's a new world now. Okay. And the world does progress. And instead of giving me a bunch of shit about how, you know, you guys were all fucked up in the 80s and 90s, be happy and thankful that the law enforcement has progressed a bit in a lot of areas. Just like our society, just like you've heard me talk about slavery. It was a motherfucker, but you know what? We've progressed out of it. You know, pat ourselves on the back, all of us of all colors. Let's pat ourselves on the back and say, hey, We're not that fucked up anymore. Instead of justifying a reverse racism or justifying, don't paint all one race with a broad brush, but we can paint all cops with a broad brush because a guy in Cincinnati fucking killed a guy, so all you cops are fucking pigs and murderers. That's not the way it is. And if you want to see where I think police work is going in this country, go watch my last video, the one before this, and you'll hear exactly what my prediction is. And sadly, I hate to say it, but I think I'm right on the money on that video. But I hope this video was semi-interesting, and you know what? Maybe it'll help some of you younger cops or even some of you older cops make a decision to how you do things, man. Think of the things we have nowadays. We have cell phones. You can call somebody. We have Uber. What the fuck? Why would anybody drive drunk when you got Uber? Keep your fucking car wherever you were when you're drinking, lock it up, get your gun, call fucking Uber. There's no excuse to be drunk driving anymore. Number one, you're risking your life, our lives, our family's lives, and your career. And more than a few of these videos, go check them out, man, are cops that are right on the threshold of retiring because they're still doing their old school shit ways, and they were not able to transition into this new world of more responsibility and technology that helps keep everybody in line, except the citizens that fucking hate the police and throw shit at them and motherfuck them and everything else. I don't know. But I hope you guys are all doing well. Hope you got something out of it. Stay safe, and we'll see you on the next video.